Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Believe in best.
Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up in our news tonight, a closer look at how the new budget may impact business on Grand Bahama. Why the opposition leader says the road to economic recovery won't be easy. And the Catholic School Board monitoring COVID cases in classes. Well, welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. I'm Georgie O'Bain. Topping news tonight. The government looking to boost small business growth throughout the country, including Grand Bahama. The second city's economy has been hit hard by Hurricane Dorian and the COVID-19 pandemic. State Minister for Finance Kwesi Thompson recently outlined initiatives that could speak directly to the Grand Bahama's economy. Addressing the press on Friday at the Harold de Gregory complex, Thompson, who is also the minister for Grand Bahama, explained 7 core principles that affect the entire Bahamas, including jobs.
The first initiative that Grand Bahamians and all Bahamians will be able to take advantage of is the government's job creation incentive program. This is a program that allows small businesses, those businesses that have a turnover of 5 million or less, to be able to get a VAT credit in order to use that VAT credit to pay for additional employees that they may bring on after the 1st of July.
The VAT credit can be used for up to $400 per week per employee for up to 10 employees. Thompson says the government hopes the initiative will boost small business growth. The Special Economic Recovery Zone, or SERS order, is also expected to be extended for Grand Bahama and Abaco.
We know that there was a huge call by Grand Bahamians to continue this. And so the government has heard the cry of residents and have made the decision to continue and extend that SERS order, so residents will be able to continue to purchase these building materials and the furnitures and appliances, and it will be extended all the way to December of this year.
Thompson indicated property transactions less than $250,000 will have no VAT or stamp duty. 2 major buildings are also expected to be constructed.
The school in East Grand Bahama has been allocated $1.9 million for this budget for us to commence the construction of the major East Grand Bahama school. And secondly, and even more important, is the new hospital, and that is the 4-story tower that the Prime Minister had announced previously. We see that there is allocated in this year's budget $19 million to commence the construction of this 4-story tower.
The Progressive Liberal Party hitting back at the government's plans outlined in the Prime Minister's 2021-2022 budget communication. Party leader Philip Davis says that it won't be easy for his party to rebuild the economy if the PLP is successful in the next general election, but he says he's up for the challenge.
Immediate relief to those Bahamians that are hurting. We will find the answer to that. We will arrest, we will deal with the COVID issues that faced us in a manner in which that it would not cause hurt and pain to the Bahamian people. We understand this economy. We understand the economy. And any measures that are put in place will have minimum impact on our people.
Following the Prime Minister's budget communication this year, Davis sat down with our news to give his initial reaction to the Prime Minister's communication as well as the previous projections.
In respect to their mismanagement of our economy and fiscal affairs. And I think that is rooted more in the fact that they didn't plan properly, that they spent more time with the blame game, and and deciding they were, as I call it, blame storming instead of brainstorming to appreciate the challenges that the country may have.
Davis says a major downfall for the current administration is that it has been playing the blame game, but Davis insists a PLP administration will be different.
The issue with this government is that they don't take the time to understand what impact their decisions will have on our people. And if you don't look at consequences before you act, you will find yourself in this ball of confusion, chaos that they have. And yes, we will immediately move to inject, to find funds to stabilize our fiscal challenges.
A delegation of United Nations officials traveled to Abaco to tour the farm Shantytown today. United Nations experts have been critical of the government's move to demolish shantytowns on Abaco, citing concerns over human rights. Earlier this month, the UN called on the government to stop demolitions, claiming that they would lead to homelessness and extreme poverty. A number of unoccupied and incomplete structures in the farm Shantytown have been torn down over the past few weeks. Well, the government's 2021 and 2022 budget may be a little too late, according to the Democratic National Alliance leader, Arinthia Komolafe. Komolafe weighing in on the Prime Minister's budget communication on this week's episode of On the Record with host Jerome Sawyer. This week, the Prime Minister announced the government intends to borrow $115.2 million for mitigation and treatment of COVID-19 to support the Public Hospitals Authority's modernization of the health system and to incentivize small and medium-sized businesses. While Komolafe applauds the announcements, she says they are a little too late.
That budget was clearly an election budget. There were some things in there that were good and worthy of note, but they were too little too late. The Prime Minister took 4 years to put in place these measures that can have a significant impact on the development of Bahamians' lives. 4 years too late, not taking care of the Bahamian people and not placing them as a priority.
According to Komolafe, the communication lacked a clear plan.
One of the things we found with the budget was that the budget was not very articulate in terms of putting forward a plan. It was difficult and hard-pressed to find what the strategy was, other than being able to deliver some goods ahead of the general elections. There was no clear strategy as to what impact we wanted to have on certain industries, how those industries were going to have a positive impact on gross domestic product, what industries were going to create a defined amount of jobs to be able to address the macroeconomic issues that we are facing on the ground right now, which is a high level of unemployment, underemployment, and persons who are facing eviction from their homes, either from back paid rent or back paid mortgage.
According to the DNA leader, the Prime Minister's communication was full of promises geared to sway votes in the upcoming election.
There's a lot of things in there when we look at the fact that there were a lot of goods and gifts and goodies given out to entice persons to vote for the Free National Movement in the next general elections. There was nothing that showed a clear medium to long-term plan that would get the Bahamas back on the path to prosperity and economic growth and development.
Well, still to come on our news, how COVID infections are affecting new and expecting mothers, and a look at a staycation treat as summer approaches. And a little later, a sweet treat makes its way to Abaco. That's coming up when our news returns.
Yes.
Jump in the truck.
Right down. Right down.
That is so funny.
Hey, you know what I'm saying? Now eyes up, just your eyes. Yes, got it. Like these hands in the pocket. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Eyes on the camera, guys.
Give me Skate Them Season 2 coming soon to TV.
Due to high levels of COVID-19 infections in the region, prenatal and newborn care have been disrupted, leaving expectant and new mothers at risk, according to officials of the Pan American Health Organization. More than 200,000 pregnant women in the region have tested positive for COVID-19, and at least 8,000 of that group have died from COVID-19 complications. PAHO Director Dr. Carissa Etienne says the pandemic has had a range of negative impacts on women and pregnancy.
Pregnancy and newborn care have been disrupted in nearly half of the countries in the Americas, leaving expectant and new mothers at risk. If this continues, the pandemic is expected to obliterate more than 20 years of progress in expanding women's access to family planning and tackling maternal deaths in the region.
This week, PAHO marked International Day of Action on Women's Health. According to the United Nations, up to 20 million women in the Americas will have their birth control disrupted during the pandemic, either because services are unavailable or because women will no longer have the means to pay for contraception.
Like all of us, pregnant women are exposed to COVID-19 infections. But because their immune systems change throughout their pregnancies, pregnant women are more vulnerable to respiratory infections like COVID-19. Once they get sick, they also tend to develop more serious symptoms that require intubation and which can often put the baby and mother at risk.
Dr. Etienne says the effects of the pandemic may take years to rebuild.
The evidence is clear that pregnant women are at higher risk for severe disease and hospitalization due to infection with SARS-CoV-2. So we can start by ensuring that women and girls can access the health services that they need, like sexual and reproductive health services and pregnancy and newborn related care during the COVID response.
Well, as the country continues to grapple with the third wave of the COVID-19 pandemic, Catholic School Education Director Claudette Roll says Catholic schools have had their share of challenges. Since the Easter holidays, Catholic schools recorded 4 cases, but Roll says the spread was quickly contained.
But those 4 cases did not cause us to have to suspend classes for the entire school system or the entire school. So we've only had to have students at that particular grade level and in that particular class quarantine as a result of either being contacts of positive cases or being positive themselves.
Administrators say most parents continued sending their children for face-to-face learning. As Catholic school students are currently sitting exams, Roll expressed confidence that the changes brought on by the pandemic won't negatively impact exam results.
We're still sitting exams, and so we don't have those results yet, but we feel confident that that will not really affect our students. Because like I said, what has happened is we did not have to have the entire school out. We only had to have that particular class out for a short period of time. So, and even though they were out, they were still working remotely, virtually. And so we feel that it would not have a negative effect on their performance at the end of this academic year.
Economist and former Bahamas Chamber of Commerce CEO Edison Sumner is questioning further tax breaks in the 2021-2022 budget. Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis announced the removal of value-added tax on a number of items during his budget communication on Wednesday. However, Sumner says at some point it will defeat the purpose of implementing it in the first place.
It takes me back to when we were implementing and planning for the implementation of value-added tax, when the government at the time had a very extensive list of exemptions to the VAT. And we said to them at the time that, the larger the list of exemptions there are, it will almost defeat the purpose of raising value-added tax because you're giving away all of the tax credit that you would have been receiving.
Sumner says he feels that tax concessions are always good for businesses as they can save on costs. However, from a government standpoint, there are some concerns.
So in this case, with the levels of tax exemptions or tax concessions or credits that's being offered by the government, I'd say it's good for the business, but we must also be careful that we're not throwing out the baby with the bathwater, so to speak, that we're not giving away the shot. And I understand the reasoning. I understand that there are short and medium-term implications for this. But we also have to be careful that we are not giving away the credits that the government would have received.
Well, when our news comes back from the break, sweet success for a business expanding to another island. And what's better than a summer vacation? The answer when our news returns.
Yes.
Jump in the trunk.
Right there. Right there. That is so funny. Hey, you know what I'm saying? Now eyes up, just your eyes. Yes, got it. Like these hands in the pocket. 3, 2, 1. Three, 2, 1. Eyes in the camera, guys.
Kibby's Kingdom Season 2 coming soon to TV.
You're watching our news. Thanks for staying with us. Well, it's a partnership born out of friendship. Island Yogurt Dessert Parlor in Grand Bahama is getting a second home in Abaco. And in this edition of Grand Bahama in Focus with our Jillian Gray, she speaks with the owners about franchising their business and getting a taste of the unique flavors at the parlor.
From sweet to savory, Island Yogurt on Grand Bahama has something for everyone.
So I have more of a chocolate savory, and Sasha has more of a sweet.
Plenty the non-dairy and you have the dairy. Plenty sweet.
With over 10 flavors that are swapped out every 2 weeks, the Bahamian yogurt brand boasts of having a flavor for every taste bud. And as you can see, we were really digging in. Nearly 10 years after opening their doors, co-owner Kimberly Brown says she's excited that her dream of having a soft-serve, self-serve yogurt parlor on every island is beginning to take shape. Island Yogurt is getting a second home on Abaco through a franchise partner.
When she came and said that she wanted to go Abaco, we was excited. And we, like I said, it's not any, we trust her. I saw her work ethics. I know what she's about. And so if you decide that you want an Island Yogurt franchise, we want people who love people, hard workers. In Abaco, I think they need some little spark right now. And I think Island Yogurt will bring a little spark to Abaco right now.
After praying about franchising for years, Brown says Nia Joaquin presented the perfect package for partnership. They've been friends for years, and Joaquin is also an entrepreneur.
We've known each other for years, and I was one of the first initial people that knew about Island Yogurt actually being opened and them actually doing the soft serve yogurt parlor. And I just thought it was natural because we have a relationship and friendship for years, and I felt that I knew the passion that went behind Island Yogurt, the original Island Yogurt, and so I was happy to get on board.
Joaquin says her deep connection to both Grand Bahama and Abaco will aid her in bringing a unique spin on the sweet treat.
Abaco is like a second home to me. There are people there that I love the island, I love the community, so I'm happy to bring Island Yogurt into Abaco to help revitalize the economy and to give back to the community like how Island Yogurt in Grand Bahama has been doing over the few years.
And here's a breakdown of the experience. When you walk in, there's a hand sanitization station. Then it's time to add some toppings. I got dark chocolate espresso beans and peanuts. Now, mastering the machine by showing off your swirl technique is not as easy as it looks. And if you're really adventurous like me, there's even more toppings.
Like the cappuccino, it does really taste like a cappuccino. Like I've been to a coffee house, so I really like that. I love the toppings, and I do like the suggestion, Miss Brown, of putting the toppings on the top and the bottom, because then I can dig to the bottom for my chocolate balls, and then I can have the top with my walnuts. So this is really good. Definitely recommend coming to Island Yogurt.
Brown hopes to inspire other business owners to think outside the box.
So if you're in Grand Bahama or Abaco and you're looking for something sweet with an island twist, stop on by to Island Yogurt. Reporting for our news, I'm Jillian Gray.
Well, as temperatures are rising and school will soon be closed for students around the country, but many people are finding themselves reluctant to take a traditional summer vacation due to the ongoing pandemic. Well, a staycation in paradise may be your style. Our Christina Dragovich has more.
What's better than a pool day? pool hopping with your family. Atlantis recently gave the media a deep dive into its 141-acre AquaVenture water park, which pumps more than 20 million gallons of water through 20 swimming areas and thrilling water slides. But Atlantis Executive Director of Guest Activities, Angelo Hart, says it isn't all about high-speed action.
Atlantis, has, the largest water park in the Bahamas and indeed the Caribbean. So besides the wonderful water park that we do have with all of our wonderful water slides and pools, we also have a lot of kid-friendly activities around the property.
And the best thing is you won't have to take a flight to experience a few one-of-a-kind moments. Hart says young guests have been eager to dive into the magical mermaid adventure since it was introduced.
Children are able to come in and learn about mermaids, especially the girls, they love it. They get their hair done, they get their nails done, and then afterwards they actually go to one of our wonderful pools and get to swim with an actual mermaid.
The Bahamas has a rich history involving pirates, and Atlantis used that as inspiration to create a pirate scavenger hunt for young adventurers.
Kids will learn about, pirates that would roam the Bahamian seas, your Blackbeard, your Anne Bonny and the like, and then afterwards they get to go to one of our lagoons and search for buried treasure. The guests that come in and they're looking for sort of different things to do. They don't want to just go to any hotel and do things that they could do anywhere. So we try to differentiate ourselves by doing more locally Bahamian activities to ensure that they're getting a sense of place once they come to Atlantis.
But once the sun sets, Hart says on-site activities are designed to bring families together.
At one of our pools, we put up a giant inflatable screen. You're able to sit around the pool in the lounge chair, socially distanced. We have popcorn and other concession items available for sale, and you get to watch some really cool family movies on property.
So what's the catch? Well, all guests at the resort must follow safety protocols and show proof of a negative COVID-19 antigen test or vaccination before they are allowed on property. After that, you get a quick temperature check and follow the social distancing and hand sanitizer guideposts to the start of your adventure.
All of the activities that we do are obviously socially distanced. All our employees are wearing masks. We have hand sanitizers and also sanitary wipes available for all of our activities to ensure that everybody is safe once they're on property.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Christina Dragovich.
Well, when Our News comes back from the break, trade union is prepared to celebrate Labor Day, and we get up close and personal with the newest creation from a local artist. That and more when Our News returns.
Yes. Jump in the shrimp.
Right there. Right there. That is so funny. Saying? Now eyes up, just your eyes. Yes, got it. Like these hands in the pocket. 3, 2, 1. Eyes in the camera, guys.
Kimmy's Kingdom Season 2 coming soon to TV.
As the Bahamas gets ready to celebrate Labor Day in about a week, unions are expressing their disappointment with the government after not getting a response to their request for a motorcade. Trade Union Congress General Secretary Rock Morris says that the diamond anniversary of Labor Day should be celebrated despite the pandemic, and with political parties campaigning daily, some consideration should be given for them to have a motorcade.
The politicians are all over the place campaigning, driving, walking, right? But they have a difficulty, not they, the competent authority has a difficulty in saying to the workers of this country, exercise your constitutional right. We will ensure that there's safety, that the traffic flow properly. Exercise this, use the protocols. No, they're not prepared to do it.
He says whether they get the green light or not, they'll be celebrating Labor Day in a big way on June 4th.
I expect as soon as possible for the competent or incompetent authority to say, we will ensure that you're able to have your motorcade. And so I am going to ask all Bahamians whether the incompetent authority gives permission to ensure that the streets are operated in a safe way. I am going to invite you all. Labor Day, the 4th of June, is your day. Come out and drive the streets of New Providence, Grand Bahama, or wherever you are. It is your right. No incompetent authority has the right to say to you that you cannot drive the street. It's disgraceful. I mean, and the incompetent authority should be ashamed of herself.
Solidarity forever.
The traditional Labor Day parade was not held last year due to the pandemic, and back in February, Director of Labor John Pinder estimated that 40% of Bahamians were still unemployed. The Shomani Bistro restaurant is gearing up for their soft opening in a matter of days. A sure treat for customers will be the art inside the new Mackey Street location. Artist Alan Wallace says that the art will add a layer of fun to the delicious dishes.
Well, the inspiration was from a musical piece called The Arrival of the Birds. So we took that and we tried to build on that, right? So it's the birds entering the room. Also, we wanted to be a bit magical with, but a certain exit. So we put a magical window up on the top as well. So it's just something fun, something beautiful. It's all, based on perception. One person may take something different from what another person may take from it. But for me, I'm just, I just try to chase beauty. I try to chase something. Again, magical is the word I like to use because I think that's something that we need in such dark times.
Wallace laid on his back to create the 3D look he was hoping to achieve, a look that is bound to be an eye-catching hit for the new restaurant.
Yeah, well, the 3D aspect of part of the mural, a lot of people spend a lot of time on their phones, on their computers. So in the restaurant, you can stand on one side and it look totally distorted, but it's built for your phone. The image is actually built for your phone, so it's an angle that you can take it on. Makes it look like there's a hole in the roof and there's trees on the outside. So that was the special part of the murals. Right? So like when you enter like a 3D movie theater, like it don't work until you put the glasses on. But this one, it don't really completely work until you take a photo and it at a certain angle. So.
Well, thank you for joining us for our news tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Georgie O'Bain, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow night. Have a beautiful evening, Bahamas. Your Hallmark movie feature, Love at Sea, starts now.